We will call the September 26, 2024 Benefits and Insurance Committee meeting to order. With that said, Susan, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Boyd. Here. Amber Brown. Here. Mike Curtis.
Here.
Holly Deering. Here. Brian Gaither. Here. Mary Hickerson. Here. Lois Miller. Here. Commissioner McAdoo. Here. Commissioner Phillips. Here. Jennifer Schmidt. Here. Michael Smith. Steve Spence. Here. Sonia Stevenson. Here. Eric Tutobeni. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Madam Vice Chair, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes of the previous meeting? Yes. We have a motion for the minutes. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes stand approved. Thank you, Susan. We have no one signed up for public comments. And that gives us to item 4, an announcement of a new member appointed by Director of Schools. Ed, why don't you do that?
Yes, so in the resolution, the Superintendent of Schools has the opportunity to elect or to submit a person for his representation, and he has submitted a very familiar face to us, Jennifer Schmidt, who is just recently taken on employment with the school system.
Excellent. And so is there any action on the part of the committee, Ed?
No, according to the resolution, it's his appointment.
Excellent. Well, welcome aboard, Jennifer, that familiar face. Thank you. Vice Chairman selection. So we're going to select a Vice Chairman today?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I guess at this point, we are going to accept nominations for Vice Chairman. I'm sorry? Your microphone, please. Thank you.
Mary Hickerson.
We have a motion and a second for Mary Hickerson. Are there any nominations?
Move nomination cease and Mary be elected by acclamation.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Mary, you have the dubious distinction of serving again. Congratulations, or perhaps condolences. Thank you, Mary. And on behalf of the committee, I'll say as chair, you do an absolutely fantastic job. And we thank you for your service. And more importantly, we thank you that you want to do this because it's important. So thank you. Item number 6, our financials. Mr. Elam, walk us through that, please, sir.
Yes, sir. For your Fund 264, for the month of August, the calendar year, you have revenue at $15,110,856. Expenses, you have $14,806,967. Revenue less expenditures, $303,889 on the positive side. For the 24-25 fiscal year comparison, your totals are revenue, $3,511,396. Expenses, $4,171,510. Revenue less expenditures, you have a negative $660,114. On the 266 fund, for the fiscal year 2024-2025, under workers' comp, you have $2,517.51. OJI, you have $174,690.40, and your total for year to date is $177,207.91. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Elam on the financial report? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to accept.
I move that we accept.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none and without objection, Susan, call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Boyd. Yes. Amber Brown. Yes. Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Holly Deering. Yes. Brian Gaither. Yes. Mary Hickerson. Yes. Lois Miller. Yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Jennifer Schmidt? Sonia Stevenson? Steve Spence?
Thank you. Item 7, Susan, Ms. Thompson, we're looking at the OSHA report, please.
Yes, sir. We're reporting on the month of August 2024. For the month, we had 43 incidences. That brings our year-to-date total to 175. With that, there's 128 that were OSHA recordable, with 26 lost day claims, 86 restricted day claims, and 16 other recordables. On the next page, you'll see the comparison for 2022 at 119, 2023 150, and 2024 175. The next page is the incurred dollars. At 2022, there was 437,000, 223, 483,000, and 2024, 1.029 million. And the last page is the breakdown of the 43 incidences. There was 26 at the Board of Ed, 17 at County General, and of the 17 at County General, there was 1 at Building Codes, 1 at EMS, 12 at Sheriff, and 3 at Solid Waste. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mary, I think you want to be recognized.
I just have a question when it gets time for that.
I think we're
Okay.
at that point. You're recognized.
Okay. Miss Susan, over on your second to last page where we've got the 1.029 million for 2024, is that we're only up 25 claims at this point in the game, but we are from 23. But at this time, we're also over doubled of what 2023 did. And I know there's a whole lot you can't tell us, but mainly my question is there a huge, large claim, 2 or 3 bigger claims, or where are we at on such a number there?
So for 8 months of 2023, we were also still under the old TPA's formulary of only a certain dollar amount set for each claim. With CCMSI, they do a very different formulary for that. But I did want to let you know that out of the 175 claims, 125 of those are closed, and to date, we've spent $362,000 on claims that have occurred in 2024. And a lot of that is attributed to the ability to get employees back to light duty or temporary job assignments instead of them remaining out of work. You're welcome.
Any more questions for Ms. Thompson? Chairman Phillips, you're recognized.
Susan, we've talked about this, and Mary, if you'll look at that cause of injury, there's 26 from the Board of Education, which is exceptionally high in my mind. I'd like for someone from the board to report maybe next month how they're reacting to that as it relates to accident investigations and what they're doing to make sure that those things aren't repeated. And I'd also like to pull their TIR from the counties and see what their total incident rate is versus what the county is, and make a comparison there. Board of Education, I know, runs their own safety program and process, but we as a county pay for those accidents and injuries. And if they're not reacting to those things, investigating them, and putting a plan in place so that they won't be repeated, we're probably going to continue that trend. So I'd like someone from the Board of Education, whoever their safety director is, to maybe explain what they're doing and how they investigate accidents. Is that possible?
Yes, sir. And my understanding is their safety director is more involved with school safety, like the security of the building and things, versus our safety, which is about the employee and the safety and OSHA compliance.
Who investigates their accidents?
Our office does. And we coordinate with the principals and the maintenance director and the special ed department and Monica and Dr. Anthony at the school board.
Okay, well, in essence, never mind then. If we're investigating those accidents, are we making sure that there's a particular plan in place that those accidents, in essence, corrective action, what's being done there?
Yes, and that is a work in progress, sir, but we'll keep you updated on future.
Perfect answer, thank you.
Susan, I do have a follow-up question based on something Chairman Phillips referenced. Is there, at the end of either the calendar year or the fiscal year, a annual report comparing our incident OSHA or OJI claims in comparison to other counties that are similar to Rutherford County, so we know how we're doing in comparison to our peers?
There's
Is there
not
any
an
kind of comparative
There's
analysis?
not an official one done, but we do periodically do that. And also, when our incident rate comes out, we compare ourselves to the state for local governments, which that will come out typically in November for the previous year. So it's about a year behind. But
Okay.
on the 266, it shows what our incident rate was for last year. And it's kind of hard to calculate it, except for at the end of the year, because those man hours are calculated on an calendar annual basis.
But to be clear, the state doesn't collect all this data from your for your and Ed's department and then bring that so that then there's a common report distributed among all 95 counties, so there can be some kind of comparative analysis done.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Any other questions for Ms. Thompson? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the OSHA report. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor of accepting the report say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The report is accepted. Wellness report. Ms. Howell, you're recognized.
For the current wellness point accumulation period, there have been a total of 2,494 points earned and a total of 520 employees who have completed their 3 wellness points. And just as a reminder, the current accumulation period ends this Monday, September 30th. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Molly. I almost didn't make it back. Any questions from Molly on the wellness report? Thank you, and without objection, we'll accept. Now we get to the reason why some of us are here. Well, we're all here for a particular, because we're here anyway, but I want to recognize Mr. Huffman with Cigna. He's going to give us the MMC update and why I'm getting all this mail. You're recognized, sir.
An update from our last discussion maybe a couple of months ago when I let you know that we were in contract negotiations with Murfreesboro Medical Clinic. The only update I can give at this point is that we are still in negotiation with them. We have not come to a resolution yet. However, I'm pleased to say that as of recently as this week, we did present a revised proposal to their consultant. So they use a consultant to negotiate with us, and we provided something to them that I would say is a little different and has some meaning to it. I don't know if they're going to be receptive to it or what their take is on it, but just wanted you to know that the negotiation is still going on, talks are still open, doors are still open. We still have every desire and intention to resolve this sooner rather than later. But just as a reminder, the date that they gave us is 12/31/24 that this has to be resolved by. And, you know, just to answer some other questions that may come up, just keep in mind this is impacts everyone that Cigna serves in our Open Access Plus network and our Local Plus network. So, you know, hundreds of clients throughout Nashville, Middle Tennessee who have membership that live in Murfreesboro or commute to and from Murfreesboro that utilize that clinic will be affected, or not, depending on how the resolution goes. Most plans, just as such as yours, has an out-of-network benefit, so there's opportunity to still see them with an out-of-network benefit, albeit that's usually a much higher cost. The Medicare network, Medicare Advantage network, is not impacted by this, so that is not part of this deal. And let's see, what other questions could I help answer at this point?
Thank you, Paul. Do we have, yes, Sonia, you're recognized.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you. I know that you and Ed and potentially somebody else on Ed's team have spent a lot of time trying to make this work for the county employees. I think there's some 800-900 county employees that have utilized or may still be utilizing, and I know for me personally, my entire family uses them. So I just wanted to thank you. I know that these are not always fun times, and a lot of employees are upset, obviously, and I'm sure they get some phone calls, but I know that Ed has been working in the background, and I know that you have been working, and so I just wanted to say thank you. And hopefully it will work out for everybody, and it'll be good. So.
Right. Thank you. And, you know, one other thing I would mention is individuals who may be what's considered in in the transition of care, people who have unique situations that really require to keep that doctor on board for a little bit longer. There is a process for continuation of that care that's available to them by filling out a form with their provider, submitting that to Cigna to see if it meets the criteria for transition. So we want to have that safety net in place in case someone, really can't be in a position to change providers, and that is available.
Mr. Huffman, I have a question, and it goes to how we can manage the expectations of those 800 to 900, of which my family are also one. Typically, when you get in negotiations like this, many of us are familiar with the process. It's hurry up and wait, and I guess there's a certain part of that here. But here we are toward the end of September with a 12/31/24 deadline. At what point, or are we at that point when things get to be a little more fragile with regard to the negotiations without obviously I don't want you, and you cannot reveal what's going on internally, but I guess what I'm trying to do is there something you can share with the county, with this board, about how fragile those negotiations are right now, and are we getting to that point where things are getting more difficult, or are they getting better, and is there things that you can tell us to manage those expectations?
Sure. Without speculating or predicting what I think may happen or not, a couple of things to be aware. Like I said, the good news, it's a good sign that negotiations and talks are still going on this early. I would say in my history or my experience, when someone is terminating as far in advance as 4 to 5 months from now, usually you just, like you said, hurry up and wait. You don't do anything until the last minute. Because there's no incentive to, usually. Both parties usually tend to wait till there's pain, and pain doesn't start to come until closer to that deadline, right? The pain's already here, in my opinion, so we feel, I think pain's there from both sides. There's a lot of discussion in the community. A lot of people are pressing us from both sides to get a deal. So I think from that standpoint, we are sooner rather than later, but I don't think that there is, bad feelings to prevent an agreement, if that's what you're asking. The other thing I would mention is that, we are seeing this across the board nationally, and we're not the only carrier that's seeing this. All providers we see are in similar situations and are pushing for similar type things, stories about losing money during COVID and inflation and things of that nature. So we are in a battle to keep our costs affordable for our clients such as you. As you know, 90% of our business is self-funded. So it's not even our money that we're arguing and fighting for. It's your money that we're negotiating on. And so we want to maintain that competitiveness and that affordability by having those negotiations and those contracts. Otherwise, we would just agree to everything that's being asked, and we would it would not be sustainable. So,
thank you for that. Yes, you're recognized.
Paul, you mentioned that the Medicare Advantage contracts aren't part of this, but when does their contract expire?
I don't know that it will. Keep in mind, the Murfreesboro Medical Clinic contract with Cigna was originally an evergreen contract, so it did not have an end date, okay? So it could have conceivably went on forever at the rates and reimbursements we were paying them. It forced them to have to come to us to ask us for a new contract. And I don't know if that's the same thing that's in place with the Medicare Advantage or if it has a termination date. My guess is that it's similar in that it's open-ended. It's open to negotiation, whoever wants to reopen those talks.
Is there any way you can ask your contracting people if there is
I can find
date
out.
certain?
Yeah, I can find out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you for that. Any other questions for Mr. Huffman?
Oh, one other thing I was going to mention. This kind of relates to your question. More of that pain starts to occur when we start to send notifications to our members, okay? And we're required to send out notifications 30 days prior to a large provider group terminating. So if that date is 12/31, then we have to commit that letters will be in the mail before the end of November, which means we have to start that process with the Postal Service November 15th, if not sooner. So those wheels will get turning as we get near the end of October, and we want to avoid that at all costs, but be aware that if it continues to go to the deadline, which most of them do, I hate to say that, but most of them do, there's likely that we will have to send letters to the members, which will create more questions from them.
Ed?
Paul, didn't with HCA, which we had the same situation last year, didn't you have like 2 extensions on the couple extensions?
I think you're referring to Vanderbilt.
I thought it was HCA.
I think it was Vanderbilt, wasn't it? Was it HCA? Okay, my bad. TriStar HCA.
Somebody.
See what I mean? They're all doing it. They run together. But yes, we extensions are a tool that is used in negotiation to further prevent the member from being impacted, if we feel like we're getting there. We've asked for an extension on this deal, and one was not granted, at some point. But that may, again, come up.
And I'm pulling this up from memory, but I believe Metro Nashville government, they had a similar situation like with Humana. I think Blue Cross Blue Shield, there was a school or medical facilities in Memphis that they had. And so to expand a little bit on the inflation, I would be surprised if this doesn't continue, because with your medical facilities, and I'm not trying to be an advocate one way or the other, but when you went through COVID and then you went through this inflation, very similar to us, is that our rates are set for 2025. So whatever increase there is in 2025, it's not included in our rates right now. So then in 2026, you would have to make up for the difference in the additional costs and for 2025 and put that in 2026's rates to moving forward. So that's why it's critical when we sit down and discuss this to meet budget requirements. We're going to be behind a little bit here, regardless of what the increase is.
Yeah, and that's the same for every client we have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why you see increases almost every year with insurance.
And I've heard it said before from the committee even, what may be happening with Cigna now could be happening with another carrier tomorrow. What MMC is doing with Aetna, United, Blue Cross Blue Shield, you never know when they're going to go through the same situation with them. So it's just something we have to deal with and work at it. Each situation is unique and each one's different, and we do our best to get the right result before time's up.
Thank you, Paul. Any other?
You're welcome.
Yes, Mary, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just reiterate what Sonia said. Thank you. Thank you to Paul and his team and all of Cigna for keep trying, and MMC for not shutting the door totally yet. So we thank them both on that. But it's just one of them things that you often hear. Say it a little louder for the ones in the back. We need to remember, and it affects me. I have MMC doctors. I'm an employee. I pay my premiums, and I try to do the best we can for the rest of the employees. But we have to remember, it's not just Rutherford County employees that are affected by this problem. It's a whole lot. Paul said over 100 clients, and you think about it. We have a lot of people that live in Rutherford County that work everywhere else. And then we've got a lot of folks in Rutherford County that come from everywhere else. So this affects folks not just within our community living in right now. So just really for everybody to remember, it is a pain. What are we going to do? We don't know. But just remember, we're not the only ones in the boat.
Thank you, Mary. Any other questions for Mr. Huffman? Mr. Huffman, thank you very much, and I echo the comments of Sonia and Mary. We
Thank you.
appreciate your efforts in this regard, and thank you for giving us a briefing, and we look for a positive update next month.
My pleasure. I think you did want me to update on the high deductible plan,
Yes.
too?
Yeah, because we're about to roll into open enrollment.
That might be under other business, but I'll go ahead
No,
and
you can go ahead while you're up here.
take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. You said you wanted to move along.
Thank you.
Just a quick update. As you recall, a year ago, when we put in MD Live telehealth benefit at 100% benefit, free for anyone to use for all categories of services, a decision had to be made last year whether or not to move forward with the IRS waiver. The IRS had made a waiver to allow high-deductible health plans, HSA, high-deductible qualified plans, to have that same benefit. Because normally, to be a qualified high-deductible plan, every service you get that's not preventive has to have a deductible applied first. But they made a waiver for 2024 that allowed telehealth benefits not to be impacted by that. So Rutherford County put that benefit in. So we knew it was expiring at the end of 2024, but we have not heard from Congress or from the IRS or from the Fed legislature that they're going to extend that. And we are waiting, and we need to know. But we finally decided that we're not going to hear until after the election, which will be too late for us to communicate anything. So Cigna made the decision that our clients who had that benefit will need to turn it off to stay in compliance with federal legislation. So effective 1/1/25, anyone who's in the high deductible plan will still get to use MD Live telehealth. Their deductible will have to be met first. Now there's still some good news here. The deductible, they could be at any point during their deductible. It could be met, it could be brand new. An MD Live visit is usually only $65, $70. So it's a very small charge that would apply to the deductible. If they've met their deductible, we can still set it up as 100% after that. So there's still going to be an increased benefit for that service. It's just that the deductible will have to apply. And, in the scenario that Congress does meet, says that we're going to extend it, we can always go back and flip it back on if we need to at the last minute. Okay? So we just wanted to give you an update of that change that happened this week.
And that's the federal government. We have no
Correct.
control over that. We have seen some things that they put in place with COVID, and then they just didn't extend it. And we have nothing to say they are or they aren't. So we're going on the side that they're not until they tell us they're going. Because by this, last year we already knew.
Correct.
Prior to open enrollment, we already knew that they were going to extend that. This year we haven't got an answer yet.
Sonia, you're recognized.
So you may not have the information on this, so if not, you maybe can bring it back to us next month. The federal government, the U.S. Department of Labor, I think it was on September 10th or 15th, just approved an update to it's the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, and that's where the local governments like ourselves are covered under the Health and Human Services Division, but it's talking about the benefits that we give and how they're applied and to be more generous, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, to people who have mental health issues and addiction issues to be able to receive those services. And I just didn't know if you guys had done anything. It may actually impact our EAP as well as our health insurance based on the services. And I don't know if you've got anything, because it's so recent, if you've got anything on that or not.
Yeah, with regards to that update, I'm not sure about it. I will say that I don't know what else they could update with the Mental Health Parity Act, because it had already established that all mental health benefits have to be equal to or exceed any medical service. Okay, so in every situation where in fact, even on this MD Live situation, when we made that benefit, we had to make mental health visits at 100% also. So anytime a medical benefit is changed, we always have to do a comparison to the Mental Health Parity Act to see if mental health needs to be adjusted. So that's already been done for several years. I don't know what a recent update would be that would change that. It's definitely not going to go the other direction, but
I think it's probably more on the addiction side, the benefits for those with addictions and the services that they.
And see, we treat those the same as any behavioral condition, and
You may be
yeah,
ahead of the game.
and there's no limits. So yeah, I can double check on that.
Any more questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Huffman.
Thank you.
Very much. With that, we'll go to item number 10, open enrollment dates. Ms. Howell, you're recognized.
We sent out a couple of informational items to employees recently regarding annual enrollment dates for full-time employees. To remind everybody, open enrollment opens this next Friday at noon, October 4th, and it will close at noon on Friday, October 18th. We do encourage all full-time employees to log into My Benefits channel to be sure that they know what they're enrolled in, and also to check their beneficiaries. And be aware that there are a couple of benefits, the flexible spending accounts, that are not passive enrollment. So if they want to re-enroll in those benefits for 2025, they will have to actively go in and elect them for 2025. We are always available for your questions. You can give us a call. You can email us at benefits@rutherfordcountytn.gov, and we are more than happy to help any employee that walks through our door.
Thank you. Any questions for Molly?
Can
Ed?
I?
Yes.
Okay, so let me give you a little bit of how MMC affects a decision that an employee might make if the contract is not renewed. If it's not renewed, then if you're in the Local Plus and you decide to stay in the Local Plus, then you would look for providers in the Local Plus. If you decide that if your thought process is, and I don't have a crystal ball, but if your thought process is, oh, it's not going to be agreed upon, and you want to go to the Open Access Plus, in front of you, you can see the different rates that you have going from Local Plus to Open Access Plus, depending on which tier that you're in. And this will be published. Our office does not have a crystal ball how it will be decided. At this time, and we were hoping, and we really pushed to try to get it done before now, but the employee will have to decide, do I stay in the Local Plus and risk this contract not being agreed upon? Do I go into the Open Access to get a broader network? So if I have to change doctors, I have a broader network, which even in the Open Access Plus, there are limits, but it's a broader network. There's more providers in there. But, I mean, that's the decision that the employee is going to have to make. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball to tell them stay in it, get out. I don't. And if they ask the office, I mean, it's pretty much a decision from an individual standpoint. And it's the risk that you take if the negotiations get worked out. You went to Open Access Plus, you're going to pay, you'll have a larger network, but you're going to stay in that until next year. If it's agreed upon, let's say in December, based on your selection, you'll have to stay in Open Access Plus for the following year. So that's kind of a little bit of a breakdown of what the employees individually will be facing based on their needs. And I think that's about it as far as addressing the MMC situation.
Thank you, Ed. Any other business before the committee? Our next meeting is October 31st, 2024. No objection. We stand adjourned.